Hey everyone, and welcome back to season 2 of Above the Tree Line. If you were watching this on YouTube, you can probably tell from the way that I'm dressed that we are in the Christmas season. I don't normally say when we are in the year because I feel like a lot of these episodes are evergreen, but today we're going to be talking about something specifically related to the Christmas season, which is different from the Advent season.
Yes.
Okay, so with me is my buddy here, senior pastor, Kenton Boone, Kenny B, which we don't call you that, but you have brought, this is your first Christmas being senior pastor at ACF, so you have brought the concept of Advent to ACF.
Yeah.
And even though I, born and raised in a church, celebrate Christmas Eve every year, I never really was able to wrap my head around Advent. Like you'd go to like Hobby Lobby and see the candles. I didn't know that each candle had a meaning. And so first of all, I just want to ask you, why did you decide to bring Advent to ACF this year?
Yeah, so it's not a secret, but I have a lot of different faith tradition experiences growing up. So I grew up in the Presbyterian church, like Christmas and Easter, and that was kind of our gig. And then I went to a Catholic high school, and then I served in an Episcopal summer camp, and then worked at a Baptist church, and now I'm here.
Yeah.
So lots of different experiences. And kind of the more traditional church expressions, right? Denominations like Catholicism and Episcopalianism. Advent is a part of the church calendar. So it is a season that leads into Christmas.
Okay.
So,
is it kind of like Lent is to Easter?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So in kind of a really clear way to say it, so Easter and Christmas would be like feast days, right? Like times of celebration, right? Easter, he is risen. Christmas, like Christ is born. And in the church calendar, the seasons that precede those feast days are times of preparation.
Okay.
So you basically are giving yourself or preparing yourself for the feast. And that is why it's specific to an Advent season or a Lenten season or something like that.
So Advent is, I know Lent's 40 days. Advent is 28?
It's the days, so it's the first Sunday after Thanksgiving. And that's the first Sunday of Advent, and that leads all the way up to Christmas Eve.
Okay.
So it's like, it kind of works itself out to 24, 25 days.
Okay. So this wasn't really something that, I grew up Southern Baptist. This wasn't really something that we learned about in our church. So what I always knew about was like the Advent calendars, which basically is like you start getting Christmas gifts early.
Yeah, like the Lego.
Yes. Or like the slime ones. My daughter loves those. So we've been doing Advent calendars their entire life. And I never really thought of the concept of Advent like that. I just thought that's the word that precedes calendar. Yeah. So tell us what is Advent?
Yeah, so Advent is, Advent, the word really just means arrival. And you're preparing for, in kind of 3 ways, you're preparing for the arrival of Christ, right? In the first way, you're looking back and you're kind of putting yourself in a space and place to experience what it was like for the Israelites to receive the Savior Jesus Christ through the baby born on Christmas, right? That you're the first incarnation of Christ is kind of the first part of Advent. The second is the looking forward, right? That Christ has promised that he will return. And usher in his kingdom in full. And that is the second part of Advent, that there's a second arrival. It's something we don't often prepare for or think about in this season. We always think about the classic Christmas.
Right.
But that's a big part of our expression as followers of Jesus, that we have a hope that we're looking forward to. And then the third part is the grace that God gives us to sustain us in between those two events. That's our story right now that we're living in between the two.
Right.
And so that's kind of the preparation of Advent, is you're preparing your heart to go back, to look forward, and to be stuck in between.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we're doing a whole sermon series right now for the month of December on Advent. the word Advent is not found in the Bible, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so when did this tradition become, like you mentioned, like the Israelites, like when is this something that we started lighting candles for and celebrating?
Yeah, so candle lighting is, I mean, really traditional to the Israelite faith, right? To the Jewish
Like
faith,
Hanukkah
Jewish traditions. Yeah. And so when the early church started, that was a big part of their expression. But talking about feast days, right? So the early church knew to celebrate. And the earliest records that we have of the church celebrating Christmas on the 25th of December or whatever it may be, is kind of like the 2nd century. And so we don't have records of an Advent season coming before Christmas. Christmas was kind of the first thing. And then just like we talked about days of preparation, the earliest kind of records of the preparation season before Christmas comes in about the 4th century. So it's not too far removed from the arrival of Christ, but it is something that is kind of steeped in the tradition of our faith. And that's what I love so much about it, to be honest, is like it's an old paved road, right? That we don't have to reinvent the wheel. That it's something that people who follow Jesus have been practicing for thousands of years. And,
and it's kind of cool to think about if, like, people you're talking about, like the 4th century, our ancestors from the 4th century potentially doing this exact same thing with the candles. Like, did they know that in 2025 that their I don't know, their offspring or whatever are going to be doing the exact same thing? It is something kind of cool that ties you to the past. But okay, well, I have a question again about the Israelites. So we're talking about preparing for this arrival. The 4 candles. Why did how did we get the titles for each candle? So we have hope, peace, joy, and love. Okay. Where did those come from?
That's a good question. Again, it's kind of one of those things from church tradition. And so you look at the aspects, which is kind of part of the sermon series that we're in, looking at the aspects of the arrival. And to look at, I won't re-preach the sermons, but to look at hope, peace, joy, and love through the lens of the Advent season and preparing for Christ's return, really. Those are kind of the traditional, I guess, lenses in which you can see the season through. Different traditions and expressions have kind of different lenses for it. It's not; those aren't always the 4 that churches acknowledge. Just like we have different denominations, we have different.
So wait, they're not always. That's not always the titles of the 4 candles.
They kind of or they might have more kind of Latin language, like in the Catholic Church, right? Like it's kind of more beholden to the Latin, the original Latin, in which a lot of the Bible was translated first into. Anyway, so interesting. Okay, so different traditions and so we. Those 4, hope, peace, joy, and love, are kind of the more universal rhythms of Advent that we've decided to incorporate here at ACF.
Okay. Now, you can't do much about this, but I have somewhat of a complaint about the 4 candles situation. We're going to get into the candle situation in a minute. But when you go to these stores and you buy this set of 4 candles, 3 of them are purple and 1 of them is pink.
Yes.
That really bothers me because it's not balanced. It's not symmetrical. Like, why have 3 one color and 1 totally different color?
So to do that, we have to talk about the colors. So purple is historically connected with royalty or inauguration, right? That Christ the King has come, and that's kind of the purple representation. It also ties closely in with repentance, which is a big part of this season, right? Some of the practices that we have us take an honest look at our lives so that we can prepare Christ a room for him to come. And then the sweet part about the pink candle that comes week 3. So we've done the first 2 weeks, hope and peace, joy. It's a turning of a kind of a turning point within the Advent season.
Okay.
Where it's almost like, so in December, right, we have our longest, darkest days, right?
Yeah.
Like generally speaking. And so the look at a pink candle is the brightening up of the season.
Okay.
That kind of turns the point to almost, it's like the blossoms in the wilderness, right? That pink is it's more of a joyful and I mean truly it's a brighter expression of this Advent season.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really thought the pink candle was for love. Because it just seems like it would make sense. Again, like I just didn't grow
Spoken
up
like
with this.
someone
So
who loves Valentine's
I know,
Day,
right?
you know?
So, okay. So the funny thing that we've been talking about on our teaching team at ACF is I was always under the impression that there was 4 candles and some Advent sets have 5.
Yes.
And so I'm learning now that there is a 5th candle and that candle represents Christ.
Yes.
And so in some Advent sets, not all of them, there's the Jesus
Sure.
candle in the
Sure.
middle, and then the hope, peace, love, and joy surrounding it. So we have decided to approach the subject of Christ as like the culmination of our series on Christmas Eve. What was your thinking? I mean, it kind of worked out perfectly with the 5 weeks in December or the 5 services. But what was your thinking behind
To be
having
honest,
it that way?
it wasn't even really my thinking. It's kind of why reinvent the wheel when the church has been doing this for so long. But to your point, I know you had some issues with
I thought you just
the white
added
candle
a
being
5th candle.
completely, yeah, because Advent sets, right? You have your 4 candles, and that's the Advent season, right? That is those 4 weeks of Advent leading up to the feast day that is Christmas. And so that is the white candle that you light. That is why we do kind of candlelit services and why we have the candle being lit by everyone. It is a celebration of Christ's coming and being born and living the life that he lived. And so that's that kind of main white. It's the culmination, I guess you could say.
Because the joke was that I was like, oh, we need a 5th service. So Kenton's adding Jesus. I was like, well, that's a great topic to add to the Advent season.
You thought that I invented it.
So you told me something before this that I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
So the Advent season is not the same as the Christmas season.
Correct. Yeah.
How are those different?
So like I said, preparation, feast, right? Those two are very distinct, right? Like if you're preparing for a party, right? The preparations time is not the party time, right? You're setting the table, you're making putting together the food, you're doing all of that stuff. You're preparing the space for people to come. But once people show up, that's the party. So the preparation is Advent and to acknowledge the arrival in all those 3 ways that we talked about. And then Christmas is the time to celebrate. It's the turning point. And I mean, if you listen to typical Advents, you're kind of taking an honest look, right? It's not always sunshine and rainbows.
Right.
You're taking an honest look at, what your life is like and how you need Jesus to show up. But the Christmas season is that celebration that Jesus has arrived.
Okay.
And that he is... he has been incarnated. He's put on skin and moved into our world.
Are there, just kind of comparing this to Lent, like a lot of times in Lent, there are a lot of traditions, like in the Catholic Church, you don't eat meat on Fridays. Yeah. In a lot of churches, you give up something for 40 days. Yeah. Is there any kind of tradition, is there any behavior of ours that's supposed to be associated with the Advent season?
Yeah, there are, and this is part of the series as well, but there are practices that are typically associated with the Advent season. To talk to your point about the fasting that comes with the Lenten season and preparation, that same thing is attached to Advent, which we don't really like to think about because December is such a time of, it's really just a time of spending. It's a time of, indulgence. It's a lot of that.
Yes.
And so for us to, as a church and as followers of Jesus, to make the practical step of giving up something, whether it's for fasting, it's like typically food, right? Like you're giving something up. you're fasting from a meal, once a week, or, everybody has different expressions of fasting. Or it's abstinence, right? It's abstaining from something that is typically a part of your life. Social media, television. I mean, it's everybody has their own cup of tea that they might need to abstain from.
Yeah.
But it's that type of thing that to go without identifies you with the history of our church that has been without, that has been in desperate need of a Savior. And so it's that kind of piece of, it's the same, it's kind of two sides of the same coin with Lent and Advent, is that it's a time of, like with Lent in particular, leading up to Easter, the life, death, and resurrection of Christ is the saving faith. But to lead up to Christmas is like, well, we are preparing for Christ to come in the first place.
Yeah.
And so that is that kind of identification with those in need.
Okay. So you can tell that this is all a new concept to me because I have so many questions coming out. Okay. So we also this year, we purchased kind of a traditional tall Advent candle stand.
Yeah.
And each week we are having some people within our church light one candle. So last week you had said that the candle that we lit the first week needs to be lit at the beginning of the first service so that the people are only lighting the second candle. Is it kind of like, I don't know, with Hanukkah, if you like light the candles and they stay burning for a certain amount of time, is it kind of the same with Advent? Like you keep one candle burning throughout?
Yeah, so to start the first Sunday of Advent, you light the hope candle, right? And the idea is that the hope candle is already lit. So you don't need to keep relighting it. I mean, yes, our candle would burn
out
all the way down.
Yeah.
And,
so you're just supposed to replace it?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, so in more traditional settings, they have the kind of oil style candles. That's a wick that's dipped in oil that lasts longer than, a wax candle that kind of burns down. But yeah, so you don't need to relight because it's a sequence, right? It builds on itself. To walk through, you don't need to walk through hope again because you've already walked through it. You don't need to walk through peace again because you've already walked through it.
Yeah.
And so it builds on itself so that it's like, going back to the analogy of preparing a meal, right? Like you've already prepared, I don't know, mashed potatoes or something. My favorite Christmas food is broccoli cheese casserole.
That's my favorite.
Is that real?
Broccoli cheese casserole with rice?
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
Rice, and my mom would do so much Velveeta.
And my mom does cheese whiz. It's just so good.
That's so good. But anyway, so like once you've made that dish, you don't need to go back and remake it, right? That is already prepared. Okay. Same thing with the candles and why they stay lit is that you don't need to remake the hope. It's already there. So
ACF Kids, our kids ministry, sent home last week with the kids 5 candles. They're battery operated. Cool. So the first, I went ahead and turned on the hope candle and then turned on the peace candle. When you're doing these things at home, are you just supposed to, like, are those supposed to stay on like all day, every day? Or is it like, okay, we lit the hope candle, but this day is over, so we're going to blow that one out. And then the next week, we're going to light 2. I'm just trying to figure out if I'm doing it right.
So that's the thing is like, it's okay to do it right and wrong, right? That is the definition of Advent, is to realize like, hey, we aren't doing this perfectly. And so it's fun questions to ask, right? That do I turn on the candle and turn it off?
Yeah. How long does it stay on?
As long
I don't
as
know.
The batteries last.
Okay.
But no. So the idea being that once the hope candle is lit, it stays lit, right? Same with the peace candle and on and on.
Yeah.
And so, but if you want to turn it off to save some battery life, go for it.
Because I know we're having, because we're burning so many candles here, we're having to replace them pretty regularly.
Yeah, and put something underneath the
so that the wax doesn't drip all over the stage. Yes. Oh well, this has been like, learning about this has been really fascinating for me, just because, like I said, I didn't grow up with this tradition, and so you can see at ACF, like we've put up these like stained glass panels on stage. We've got the candle stand, and there is something very I don't know. There's just something, it's very, very traditional, and it's, there's something special about tradition. It's, I mean, I don't know. I didn't ever go to a church with stained glass windows, but when you think of church, like traditionally, that's kind of what you imagine. So it's really cool to have this kind of new tradition. And
it's for us to kind of unearth it a little bit,
Yeah.
right? That it's already there. We just kind of have to dust it off and kind of re-energize or be excited about a different kind of expression. And there's nothing wrong with either or, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the steeped in tradition, and there's nothing wrong with the new things, right? Psalms talks about sing to the Lord a new song. So there's nothing wrong with that either. But I think for us, we needed to reclaim some of the history because our faith didn't just happen. We are standing on the shoulders of so many that have come before. And that's just the beautiful part about Advent, is that we're just standing on shoulders that came before.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we are actually out of time now,
Okay.
but thank you, Senior Pastor, so much for answering all of my questions. I love how much you know about this. Like, it helps that we're in the middle of preaching an Advent series right now, but it really is fascinating. So I just want to tell our listeners and our viewers, if you guys have any additional questions, you can go to acfellowship.org/podcast, or if you really want to just check out what we've been preaching on Advent. We're at this point, we're a couple weeks in. We've got hope and peace, and then we've got joy and love coming up, and then ultimately Christmas Eve will be Jesus. So you can access all of those at acfellowship.org. And again, I just thank you, Kenton.
Yeah,
and
thanks for having me. This is great.
This is fun.
Blessings, y'all.
Yeah, and thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you on an episode next week.